Fashion and film have gone together ever since film was first invented in the late 1800s, with stars like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. Fashion has been used as a non-verbal tool to reflect the character's attitudes and emotion and establish who they are. In this video essay, I will explore how social attitudes are expressed and reflected in fashion and film, starting in the 1950s and making my way to the 1990s looking at contemporary Hollywood film. I will explore how social attitudes are formed through politics and economics, then how fashion upholds these ideas before looking how they are expressed in film, focusing on the dominant social attitude at the time and how people subscribe to this. Conformity became the social norm after the end of the Second World War with the emergence of two superpowers, the USA and the USSR. They both became incredibly paranoid of the opposing country due to their dramatic differing political views of capitalism and communism. Their paranoia was passed on to the American people through the Red Scare and the McCarthy trial. Conformity came in the form of returning to conventional gender roles. As soldiers come back from overseas, it was expected for women to give up their job for these men and return to the home. With the return of traditional femininity, fashion followed, with Christian Dior's The New Look. The new look was first seen in the late 1940s in Paris. It was an ultra-feminine look which emphasized the hips to create a cinched waist. As well, it was a rejection of the military look, with shoulders that were fitted and flowed the natural shape of the body, rather than padded square shoulders with harsh dramatic angle. Furthermore, it embraced full-shaped skirts and rejected trousers to highlight femininity. The new look came at a time when people didn't want daring and bold fashion. People didn't want to stand out, so it was naturally unadventurous style helped to capture the decade's fashion. In this scene, James Stewart's character is dressing Kim Novak. He dresses her in a grey blazer with white tie, close-fitting jumper under a matching grey suit skirt. The suit blazer has soft round shoulders that flow down to the arm, a stark contrast to the square-shaped shoulders of the military uniform. The round shoulders are a staple of the new look wardrobe. They are making Kim Novak look restrained and reserved. The skirt ends below the knee, seen commonly in Dior's The New Look. It's a symbol of traditional femininity. It indicates a return of women to the household by taking them out of workwear. The whole outfit follows the H silhouette, which accentuates the figure of Kim Novak in an hourglass shape, while remaining modest and feminine. The outfit was feminine, understated, and free from vanity, not drawing eyes towards her, matching perfectly with the crowd. The 1960s seen the rise of the counterculture movement, where mostly young people began to disregard the dominant social attitude of the 1950s, which had been pushed upon them from a young age, and began replacing it with new ideas of what it was meant to be a young person in America, known as the hippies. Hippies, or flower kids culture, was influenced by psychedelic rock, environmental issues, and recreational drug use to free the mind. Hippie society was focused on the wider collective, with ideas centered around community, living in big groups called communes where everyone helped each other out and they lived off the land. They rallied around social and political issues such as gay rights, the civil rights, and ongoing Vietnam War, with the famous March on the Pentagon in 1967, seeing as many as 70 to 100,000 people arrived to the Capitol to protest the ongoing war. The fashion of the counterculture movement was a massive change from the previous decade, where fashion became free from restraints of modesty and traditional ideas of clothing. Fashion became a rebellion against the previous decade, with an explosion of colour. The modest tones of the 50s were gone, replaced with bright, bold colours. Floral patterns became a staple of hippie fashion, which arced back to the hippie movement's appreciation of nature. Fashion became bolder, vivid, and shorter, showing much more skin, expressing the freedom that hippies found in fashion. Lee Taylor Young is attending a funeral where she can be seen wearing a short, bright yellow dress decorated in red and green flowers, talking to an older gentleman wearing a black suit. This scene demonstrates the shift in fashion and social attitudes in the 1960s. The contrast between the bright dress and the black suit. The yellow dress is a symbol of change in attitudes, The dress is much shorter than what was expected. The colours are bright and vivid and draw the eye to her, which goes against conformity where people want to fit in. Simultaneously, Peter Sellers' character is wearing a traditional black suit, which was very common at the time, making him blend in with the crowd. The way Lee Taylor Young is dressed in this scene reflects her personality. Lee Taylor Young hair is long and not put up, is free-flowing and loose, mirroring a character's attitude to life. The character embodies how young people rejected the social standards of the 50s, who wanted to create their own culture, which was free from restraint, where you could be whoever you wanted. The costume is a rejection of conformity. It is bold, bright, vibrant, loose-fitting, and free-flowing with no restraint. The 1970s was a time of economic hardship with poor economic growth and high unemployment known as stagflation, with events like the oil crisis in 73, 74, and 77 further exacerbating the inflation and unemployment problems. As many industries and manufacturing businesses were dependent on oil for operation, it meant many had little growth and minimal job opportunities in this sector. This affected young people disproportionately, seeing high youth unemployment creating a young working class struggle. The impact of high unemployment led to young people feeling socially excluded, where the general public shunned them and pushed them to the fringe of society. Where these young people seeked out others in the same position who had a similar taste in music, film, political ideas, and fashion, forming a number of different subcultures, all with different sense of fashion. The most notable subcultures being punk, glam rock, disco, and the continuation of the hip. The fashion of the time reflected the hard economic period, with fashion having a functional purpose with less distinction between workwear and casual wear. Due to limited finance, there was a DIY approach to fashion, upcycling, reusing, and customizing. Therefore, individualism came through in fashion, where trends and retailers had less of a role in fashion and necessity come first. Robert De Niro's portrayal as a shell-shocked Vietnam veteran who struggles to come to terms with his loneliness and anger for the world dealing with a drug and alcohol problem. De Niro represents the working class dressing in a military style olive green tank jacket with work style shirt and with beige trousers and brown boots. In the scene when De Niro is rejected by Shepard, there is a clear distinction between their places in society, with De Niro coming across as bitter and resentful of Shepard and her job in politics. As she works in politics, she is presented as successful, while De Niro is struggling, let down by society, which is shown through his bland recycled clothes. However, Shepard is wearing red and white pinstripe full dress shot in a way which enhances the white, making her look pure and innocent. Shepard's dress is more fashionable clothing. She's seen in multiple different dresses full of colour, showing the disconnect from De Niro and the working class. While De Niro is represented as working class, hard done by society, which is how many felt in the 70s, continuously let down by the government and now resentful of political figures. The poor economic performance of the 70s prompted a growing movement for social and economic conservatism. This took place when Ronald Reagan took control of the White House in early 1981. Reagan ushered in capitalistic policies and a conservative approach to government, later coined as Reaganomics, which involved tax cuts, minimizing the role of government in business, and leaving the free market to grow organically. This brought a time of economic growth and rising wages, most notably for the top 1%. The term yuppie came to describe young professionals who worked in cities, holding jobs in finance, insurance, and tech, earning big wages and even bigger bonuses. The lifestyle of the yuppie became a competition between one another to see who had the most extravagant house, fastest car, expensive what, almost luxurious boat. An important part of a yuppie was their appearance, wanting to present themselves as powerful, therefore dressing in the finest suits from luxury brands that are exquisitely tailored become a way of portraying their importance. Michael Douglas's character, Gordon Gekko, has become a prominent fictional figurehead that embodies the social attitudes of the time with his famous "greed is good" speech. Michael Douglas is introduced on screen while on the phone in his office. Looking out the window of his office, it's a top floor corner office revealing his successful career. Michael Douglas is wearing a blue shirt with the cuffs rolled up, a burgundy tie with blue medallions held to his shirt with a silver tie pin, striped suspenders with white leather connectors. In addition, he has on a gold Cartier watch, a gold little finger ring and a gold chain leg bracelet. Michael Douglas embraces the attitude of the 80s yuppie. He is presented as highly successful, self-made banker who comes across very confident and self-assured. The fashion reflects his high striving attitude. The suit exuberates his power, ambition, and can be seen as a symbol of his authority. The suit is a conservative cut, which became very popular at the time. The accessories indicate wealth and materialism. The watch is an 18-karat gold Cartier, Santos, or Massif, showing his vast sum of disposable income. In addition, it's a visible sign of success. Michael Douglas is portraying a man of power and importance, which is displayed through his consumption of luxury items showing his wealth. Postmodern ideas came from the conservative views of the 80s and the mass capitalization of business. Postmodernism challenged the established social hierarchy and conventions of the time, criticizing the modern society. Postmodernism was skeptical of where society was going and the future, with big leaps in text creating a cynical view. Postmodern fashion was playful, ironic, skeptical, and a rejection of modernism, creating fashion pieces which felt fresh and different, where the design was simplistic with intertextual designs referencing to previous designers and designs. It challenged the mass production and outsourcing of fashion and art. Postmodernism came in to challenge people's perception of what art and fashion meant. It referred to previous artistic decades to critique modern art and create something new. A major part of postmodern fashion includes recycling old styles while embracing new ones and rejecting one single style. Pulp Fiction came out in 1994. It became a quintessential postmodern film that challenged and questions the standards of filmmaking. Postmodern fashion style can be seen in the scene where Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta have gone to retrieve a briefcase and assassinate the owners, dressed in monochrome single-breasted black suits with a white shirt, a reflection of the typical film gangster. Additionally, an intertextual reference to his previous film, Reservoir Dogs. However, unlike most crime films, the conversation between the two gangsters is about life itself, acting as a mouthpiece to pop culture itself. The scene is self-reflective, with Samuel L. Jackson being aware of his role in the situation, demonstrating his power with small gestures and question. Furthermore, the suit is an extension of his power and position. The suit is self-reflective of a typical gangster, with Jackson coming to question his own beliefs before deciding to leave the gangster life after critiquing his own action. In the now famous dance scene, there are countless examples of postmodern filmmaking and intertextual references. The scene is set in a 60s style diner with waiters dressed as pop culture icons, showing nostalgia as a critique for modern culture. The dance pays homage to two films, Fellaini's 8.5 and Buddha Apart, who inspired the dance choreography and ideas for dancing in a diner. Furthermore, the dance was called The Twist. First seen in the 60s, it was deemed as too provocative, thus showing how postmodernism breaks social norms. In addition, John Travolta is referencing himself in Saturday Night Fever one of his most famous roles. The scene is as a juxtaposition to the film's gore and violence, with John Travolta playing the role of a gangster and Uma Thurman playing a gangster's wife. The fashion of John Travolta reflects the fashion of the 60s. It is a critique of modern fashion, which is skeptical of the future, while Uma Thurman is dressed in more masculine formal clothes, a critique of gender roles. Social attitudes are a constantly changing, evolving part of society, influenced by different economic and political factors. Hollywood has been able to create compelling characters and fashion them in a way which expresses these attitudes through the medium of cinema, simultaneously creating iconic characters who live on as a representation of past decades, demonstrating the attitudes to the viewer, with the characters acting as a peek into the previous decade, displaying the dominant social attitude.